Your number's too big to ignore, and I know too much to go back and pretend, 'cause I've heard it all before.
Hi and welcome to another edition of Women in Real Estate Success Series. I'm Julie Davis from Agent Dynamics. I'm absolutely delighted to introduce our guest today, Sonja Smith from Luxury The Property People. Now, I've known Sonja for a number of years now and absolutely been delighted to watch her success. We first met many years ago, Sonja, when you worked for another national brand in which you were the foundation member of that boutique brand before launching your own brand in 2014. My gosh, it seems like yesterday.
I know, it's just flying.
It is. And so, Sonja, you're based in the heart of the Gold Coast here on the Isle of Capri, which is an absolutely beautiful location. And that really allows you to, personally look after and work with all your clients anywhere in the Gold Coast. It's really, really central. Let's talk about some of your results, Sonja. Just probably the most recent ones that we look at, and it's that you were ranked the number one agent in your core area, and that you achieved the highest or the record number of listings. Recently, you've had two incredible sales, one for $5 million at Surfers Paradise and another waterfront property at $7.4 million, which is amazing for the Gold Coast, just fantastic. Now, Sonja, you're going to say, and I can personally back this because I've known you for so many years, is that your reputation is built on a standout prestige agent. Okay, there's no doubt about that. But you also have a very caring and compassionate manner with your clients. But most importantly, you're a fierce negotiator, which in our industry is so important, and absolutely committed to getting the maximum result for your clients. And your core belief is to deliver integrity and transparency to all of our clients. So welcome to this week's episode of Women in Real Estate. And I'm hoping that today that people are going to get to look at your journey and have a little bit of insight in terms of what your career history is, what advice you might give people, what's been the really high points of your career, and what have been the low points. So I guess probably the first thing, tell us a little bit, Sonja, about your journey into real estate, how that happened.
Quite incredibly, it was not something I was ever going to consider doing. But being a single parent with a tiny baby girl, it offered me flexibility and just a good environment to still care for my daughter, but have that flexibility in my life. So a very good friend of mine in my hometown, which I began my career in the Snowy Mountains, which very, very, very small town, lots and lots of listings. In those days, not many buyers. So we actually weren't taught. It was a bit of a reverse situation. We were taught to just get the buyers in those days from the window card and get them in the car and show them 10 or 15 properties, and hopefully they'd stick with you and buy a property. My conditioning in those days was quite the opposite to what happens now.
Yeah.
So that's how I started off as a assistant property manager, and just did the hard yards for several years. And then, as you know, I ended up in a beautiful seaside town of Terrigal, where there was a lot of competition. Our friend Mr. Steinway and several other heavy hitters in that area.
Yes.
And the big brands just never appealed to me. I always loved the feel and look of a boutique brand. So that's when I went into the one agency model and took a license agreement and kicked that brand off.
Yeah, and you were actually the very first person actually to come on board with the one agency group, and you're with them for a number of years, and that's where I very first met you. Yeah,
2007, 2008 approximately. Opened with a home-based business. Big boys laughed at me, of course, which made me more determined, and had a lot of fun with that. Just knowing that the internet was powerful and signboards, good old-fashioned signboards, were still powerful, and just doing a lot of strategic networking and marketing in my area, and just had faith in the new models.
Yeah, so let's go back to the very first opening statement when you talk about when you did the hard yards. Now, I personally think that that is so beneficial to long-term success, and we do see a lot of people come into the industry and they just don't have that foundational knowledge of real estate. And that certainly plays out.
Everything from making coffee for the boss to putting the window cards in to setting up the homes in preparation for the salespeople, like all the grounding, all that work of all the phone calls, all the chasing up of lawyers, just everything on the ground that had to be done, right down to property management, chasing rent arrears, and all that stuff that you have to do to learn how to read people and negotiate, and from a baseline level. That's where you get the best grounding, not just being thrown in the deep end. You have to do that nitty-gritty hard yards, almost boring, mind-numbing stuff.
Yeah, it gives you that depth of knowledge, though, doesn't it, and certainty around the whole process. So a number of years ago, you moved to the Gold Coast, which is where we first met, and you had a bit of a dream in your heart about opening your own brand.
Well, prior to that, if we go back, that's when I was doing the recruitment because I had a success story with the foundation of the One Agency brand. So I had a good success story selling that office.
Yes, absolutely.
It's quite small, but it kind of drove me into thinking, well, there's a lot of people out there that want to do this, but they didn't really have, the skill set or the mindset to jump out of the bigger brands. And so for 2.5 years, I was in recruitment for that particular
Yes, and I just have to say, sorry for interrupting you there, is that you were such an integral part in the growth and success of that brand.
Yeah. So because I truly believe that people had better options on the table than staying with the franchises, which is, I know they serve a purpose for some people, but there are a lot of people that just love to, fly their own ship. And want to be just have autonomy and
yeah. And I guess you put their own flavour to it. And I look at the brand that you have created, and I look around and watch you, and everything around that brand is very luxurious. You've got a very targeted demographic and market that you have niched into, and created a lot of success within that niche and that brand. And as we know, it's a very, very competitive market. So what would you say, Sonja, if I asked you, what would differentiate Sonja Smith to other agents who are in that market as well? Why would somebody choose you?
I think just that sense of when they meet me, I'm definitely I'm always trying to help people get to where they want to be. I'm never driven by the dollar. I know that sounds a bit ridiculous, but I'm that's always the end result for me. It's not my first thought.
Yes.
It's always, where do I want these people to be positioned? Why do they? I'm trying to understand what they really want. Where they're going, where they've been. And it's always to help people to, and that's why I get so much repeat business. People, that comes across as being very authentic, that I actually care. And most of my clients end up good friends, if not very close acquaintances. But they're just, I never go in there just looking at the dollar, and that comes across to them as well. I'm never talking about the money. I'm always talking about what are their goals, what are their needs, how do they want to feel safe, because 90% of people don't trust agents, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I really go in there to build trust, but keep their trust.
And this is a really important point that you just made, is buyer safety, right? Well, people who that we serve, is that the first thing that we can connect with them and really understand what they want, and so it allows those conversations to go to a much deeper level.
Correct.
Where they really feel safe for you, and they really wouldn't think about employing somebody else. And with that connection comes that, what I think is really the essence in any sort of business, call it transaction or experience or journey, is that ability to really communicate and connect with that person and understand what they want, because it's a partnership and you're working together as a team.
Particularly in residential real estate, it's very different to commercial, of course, and very different to projects. Residential real estate, you're dealing with mums and dads, and you're dealing with people who are so attached to those properties, and it's often a fear-based thing. Where do I go? How do I jump next? How do I make sure I don't make a mistake? And it's just holding their hand through that process always, like a friend, even though it's a business transaction. If you just give them that support, genuine support, they're always drawn back to you to have future business.
Yeah, and we find, particularly at that end of the market, we've got some incredible women that have achieved the most incredible things, and which is why that was the catalyst for me, really, to be able to highlight those women who are out there in the marketplace creating amazing success for themselves and for their client. To enable them to really build a business that's both profitable but sustaining as well. And we look in that, particularly in that market, it is very, very dominated by males. So what, in terms of when you decided to, or you very first launched your brand, did you get much resistance from your male counterparts in that space?
Absolutely. So that in the market that I chose, which was a very difficult market back then, and still is to this day, I've got to say that the leaders in the area were 50-50. It was males and females. But I got a sense there was just something missing in that whole, dynamic. So I just thought, I was very passionate about the area. The Isle of Capri is one of the oldest waterfront suburbs on the coast. There's a lot of, families that have been here for a very long time. I liked that connection, that community spirit. So I just worked hard and met up with some really key people in the area and asked them what they wanted. And they said, we want more transparency. We want people that work hard. We actually want to. One lady I've sold 5 properties for in the area, used the words, I want a Sydney mentality in my agent. I don't want a Gold Coast agent that's just going to go to the beach most days. And that was the kind of feeling around it. They just wanted someone who'd work super hard and fight for them. So that I said, well, that's kind of, I came from a market that was super competitive.
So absolutely. And I know that you have also been in that male-dominated area as well, and being a woman within an organisation that's very male-led, male-dominated, it's a pretty a tough arena to be in as well.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I was probably in the early days, I was a little probably too soft with my approach, because there's that fine line of being assertive and determined, and as well as being, keeping everything balanced. But I definitely had to learn to fight for I had one of the area, just as an example, I got a call one night from one of the former area experts, and he said, I've noticed that you've just jumped to number 1 and I'm going to knock you off your perch.
Yeah.
For which I responded with laughing and going, plenty for everyone. I didn't even know that I was sitting at that position, but thank you for letting me know, and have a nice day.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about some of the highs in your real estate journey. What have been some of the key moments that pop into mind in terms of that's been a really heartwarming, a recognition of you doing a great job?
All my colleagues, whether I've worked with them directly or indirectly, or I've recruited them into the other brand, always refer me business. They always call me and say, firstly, we miss you. Secondly, we want to help you out because you've always been good to us. And one of them referred me the $5 million beach house. Wow. From which I just picked up a project in Surfers Paradise because, wealthy developer from Sydney, and I have a very good relationship with him. So, it's just been a flow-on effect of do good things, and good things will follow.
I think that's really key too when we look at people in the industry that really trust you enough and know that you're going to do a really great job for the people that they refer to you.
Yeah, and that's the number one thing in this business is trust. And if you lose the trust of the vendor or the buyer in those initial conversations or the following, as the story goes on, the business has walked out the door.
Yeah.
And I've built a rent roll the same way. I have an amazing property manager who worked with me in the past, and people, just doesn't matter who I talk to, they go, "You're so lucky. She has got such an amazing skill set. She's such an amazing person." But like attracts like. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it can take years and years and years to build your reputation, and mere seconds to have it destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about longevity, because 25 years in our industry is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
How do you maintain that sort of consistency on a personal level, your health, all of those things, your mental health as well, in terms of sustaining that and sustaining a longevity within a business?
So having good support people around me has been amazing, and I have a great network of friendships, and because I don't have family around me, so my friendships are super important. I've got a health retreat that I go to every year without fail, and to reset, because at some point you get exhausted, particularly when you're in your 50s.
Yeah.
And I've done that every year for 14 years.
Wow.
I've just committed to that, and I've done it every year. So now I'm going to post a girl for that health retreat.
Yeah.
But I'm truly passionate about, you have to stop, put that phone down, and sleep and eat and rest and take care of yourself, because it's super mentally, physically and emotionally draining.
Yeah. And I guess, there's such a fine line, and I know that I suffered burnout when I left the industry as well. It is understanding the balance of real estate's what you do, it's not who you are. And I think in terms of having that outlet, as you said, you're fairly social, and you love to have fun.
Yes.
So you have that release.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, everyone has different ideas of fun. For some people, it's a running a marathon. Other people, it's locking themselves away with having a Netflix marathon, whatever. But for me, connecting with people, which is one of the reasons I'm a good network agent. Dare I say it, I've never made a cold call or had a door knock experience. I just meet people and connect, and then I connect with more people as a result of that. And that's where I get my energy. I love being with people.
Yeah, me too. So and you just got yourself a new puppy as well, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
He's a little Labrador / golden retriever. He's divine.
So cute. Yeah.
But that's good for, that forces me to go for that beach walk or that park walk, or things like that are just so important to factor into your day. I took a month off over this Christmas period, as things were a bit topsy-turvy with everything here in southeast Queensland. I thought, you know what, I haven't had 4 weeks off in a row. I mean, you still pick up the phone, still talk to your clients and so forth, but I hadn't had a break like that in 20 years.
Yeah, that's so good, isn't it? Because I think if you don't do that, you do get burnout, and you can't be the best version of you each day if your tank's on low.
Yes.
And it is important that that you just take that step back. I just think that's really, really important, because we do see a lot of really obsessive behaviour, unfortunately, in the industries where people are ruled by their phone and email and just don't know how to disconnect.
Well, I did work out how to put boundaries around that too, because when I first opened this brand, I literally worked 7 days a week, and I'd answer the phone at 7 a.m. and 10 o'clock at night. And at the end of the day, nobody needs to do anything at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So I put boundaries around that, because I thought if people can't wait till 8 a.m. to talk, then they're either, bored at home just talking to people because they've got nothing better to do. There's always, a boundary you need to put around time frames when you're talking to clients. You can't have a good conversation, unless it's the Chinese, of course, because they always talk after 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
But most people, you can wait to 8 a.m. They don't need to talk to you at 10 o'clock at night. You can respond to an email, but you don't have to be obsessive about it.
Yeah, so two points around that. The first thing, and I do understand that when you start up a new business, new brand, whatever, it is very, very intense.
Oh,
and you have to do that.
Yeah, the year I started my brand, I broke my foot. My mother was sick, and my
Yeah.
daughter was going through a procedure as well. It was the most ridiculous year of my life. I nearly
Yeah.
threw it in 3 or 4 times, and I started the brand incidentally on
Yeah.
peanuts. I'm
Yeah.
literally on the. I didn't have any husband behind me supporting me. I didn't have my parents
Yeah.
giving me money. I literally started my brand on on a few $1,000 I just had squirreled away.
Yeah, and I actually remember meeting up with you for coffee one day just before you did that, and you talked to me about, your goals and your dreams, and it's just been so exciting for me watching that and watching the level of success that you've achieved. So, was there a defining moment or a moment that switched for you to say, I need to put boundaries around this
Hmm.
for my own health
Hmm.
and mental health? Was there that moment?
Yeah, it was probably when I was doing a class in one of my retreats, and where someone said, you know, some things are important, but nothing's ever really urgent.
Yes.
Those words.
Yeah.
It's just that it might be important, but unless it's urgent, i.e., someone's on the way to the hospital or the house is burning
Yeah.
down,
Yeah. Blood or fire. Yeah.
it can just wait for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So, what are
And,
the boundaries? Give us an idea of, in terms of what your day looks like, in terms of your boundaries, and what's your routine for the day.
so it varies because I'm definitely not one of those people that's super structured.
Mm-hmm.
So that has pros and cons to it, of course. I just can't have that feeling of being fenced into anything because, of course, in our industry, you can be pulled in and out of anything, and
Yeah.
meetings get cancelled or you get pulled into something, drop everything and go. So I'm not super duper structured, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm very committed. So if I'm, I know I have to be somewhere and I have to, have those meetings, I'm always on time and I'm always ready and prepared. But I don't, every day is totally different. There's no set day apart from, the two things that are givens in my life is 9 a.m. coffee and 12 o'clock juice. That's the only
Yeah.
things that are in my day that are structured. Honestly, I
Yeah.
just roll with everything because I
Yeah.
know that's how our industry is. You cannot. I don't have that thing of make 10 calls before 10 a.m.
No.
and I just don't.
Yeah.
I know that sounds ridiculous,
Well, it
but
doesn't. It just means that you know your own rhythm and you know your own flow, and it's
Mhm.
just like really focusing on those big rocks.
But I
Where,
got a call at 6 o'clock last night from a friend who's had some referrals for me. She said, "Can you be at the Marriott in 15 minutes?" I went, "I'll be there." Just
yeah,
I go, I just drop
fantastic.
everything and go. So I
Yeah.
don't. I have a lot of flexibility in my day,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll literally, when I was in recruitment for the other brand, I would pull 16-hour days just
Mm-hmm.
because I was having fun.
Yeah.
Like meeting people. I'd
Yeah.
drive to Brisbane, I'd drive to Noosa, I'd jump on a plane and go to Sydney, and then I'd jump on the next plane and go to Melbourne, and that someone
Yeah.
would ring me and go, "Can you come here?" I go, "Yeah, but I'll just jump on another plane."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just I just go with flow. Whatever
Yeah.
needs to
Yeah.
happen, I just
Like
make it
me,
happen.
love that variety. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk briefly, because we've all had them and we will continue to have them. What have been some of the low points in your career?
Look, personal relationships suffer a little because you just don't have that, particularly in the early days of setting up my brand. I just didn't have the time to invest in someone else, and that became problematic at times. Of course, there were times when my daughter used to say to me, "I wish you just put that phone down and talk to me. I just need to talk to you, but you're just always on that phone."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd say personal relationships are definitely, and people defining you as a real estate agent, not seeing you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
That for me was, often now I meet people, I just don't tell them in the first 5 minutes what I do because they
Yeah.
just judge you straight away, good or
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
But the lows, like, you're always going to, when you're running a business, you're going to get ebbs and flows of income. And there were times where I went, I might have to throw this in because I just don't know if I can survive till next month.
Yeah.
But I'd get up, dust myself off, and figure a way out of whatever hole I was in, and I just get up and figure it out,
Yeah.
and just keep going.
Yeah. And your tenacity has
There's
certainly
nothing like
paid
being
off.
hungry to get up and go again.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the way I always finish off, and this is going to be one out of the hat for you, putting you on the spot, for for those people who know you or don't know you, what would be the one thing about Sonja Smith that most people wouldn't know?
On a personal level?
Whatever you like.
I've had people say to me that, if they look at my social media, it looks like I've, got this amazing, perfect life. It's not perfect. There are obstacles, there are challenges, there are definitely, that you put the good stuff on that, and but deep down, I'm a country girl, and in a former life, I was a ski instructor, so a very different life.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I travelled the world and had this amazing life. Didn't make any money, of course, but had an amazing life travelling the world skiing, and that was my passion.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was so passionate about what I was doing, but $14 an hour, it wasn't a good option. Not to raise a daughter, anyway. Alone.
No. And you've got a beautiful daughter, Maddie, and I'm sure she's very, very proud of you and the contribution that you've made to her life as well. We're really glad that you're in the industry, Sonja, because you really hold a flag, a light for so many other women in terms of being able to back themselves. And I think that's really, really important. And I think the other thing is that, all of us go through struggles, but it is character building. And each and every one of us have got the resources internally to face those struggles, because most of the time we're 90% there. It's just that little bit extra.
Yeah. But I've been very fortunate to have good women and men around me to say times that have been difficult, get yourself up, dust yourself off and go again. It's like just having someone else say those words to you, very powerful. Someone else to believe in you and say, it's okay to have a bad day, but now get up and go again. Yep, okay, I hear you, I'm up, I'm going again.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of bruises on those knees, but we're really glad that you're in the industry. I love catching up with you, and I also love, watching you on socials as well. Got your little puppy, and you live life to the fullest, which is that balance. And to know particularly how important friends are, and that you take time out, because you never know when that friend might not be there anymore.
Correct. Yeah. And I kicked a huge goal last year, buying my dream car I'd wanted my entire life. So that's one of my passions too. So I did that. And so, every year you just, you've got to set a bit of a goal, and even if you don't make it that year, we'll just try again the following year, and eventually it comes to fruition. If you want it bad enough.
Tell us about that car. It's pretty special.
It's amazing. It was a car I always looked at and went, oh, I'll never have that, but I'd love to, but I'd never have that. Anyway, I stumbled across it one day. It was well priced, and had just had a good month. Tax man wasn't getting all my so I said, I put it into my vehicle, and gives me great pleasure, and it gives me that satisfaction. That's where I go, now I know why I worked so hard 7 days a week to make it all happen, because I had that, reward at the end of it. Yeah. And there's more good things to come. I just got a list and I'm ticking it off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Sonja Smith, having you on as our guest.
Thank you.
And we've got, I think, a very exciting year coming up. Who knows what it's going to be like, but we always have to remember to focus on what we can control.
Correct. Yeah. Don't look too far outside, because it's it can be overwhelming. But staying in your own little bubble sometimes is not a bad thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks very much. We look forward to sharing this video, and I'm sure it's going to have an impact on a lot of women out there.
Thanks, Julie. Lovely to see you.
No matter what they say, don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Take that dream you hold on to and make it come true. Live life to the fullest before it outlives you. Climb that mountain if you want, go right up to to the top. Run the city marathon, keep running, don't stop. Swim the channel if that's what you really want to do. Live life to the fullest before it outlives you. Live life to the fullest, no matter what they say. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Take that dream you hold on to and make it come true. Live life to the fullest before it outlives you. Write some words down on a page and even make them rhyme. Add a little melody and listen to a song. Or write a novel with the words, it's really up to you. Live life to the fullest before it outlives you. Live life to the fullest, no matter what they say. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Take that dream you hold on to and make it come true. Live life to the fullest before it outlives you. Life is short, as we all know, it only comes around once. Make the most of every day, we only get one chance. So stop the fighting and the wars, let peace and love shine through. Live life to the fullest before it outlives you. Live life to the fullest, no matter what they say. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Take that dream you hold on to and make it come true. Live life to the fullest before it outlives you. Live life to the fullest, no matter what they say. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today.